I am McKendrick. That is Trey.
And this is the Cold Blooded Caffeine Podcast. On this episode 6 of the Cold Blooded Caffeine Podcast,
Wow.
we're going to talk about, I know,
We're six in.
We're going to talk about 5 things that we did not expect when we started a coffee roasting company.
Yeah, so thinking back to like the many ideas that we had leading up to where we are today and eventually landing on a coffee roasting company was exciting for sure in the beginning, but there are definitely things that we've learned along the way that we felt it would be good to share those with you. Just kind of the different nuances that we've experienced over the last
year and a half.
Yeah.
And I think, we thought like it wasn't that we went into this without thinking about all of the aspects that we knew would exist, right? But there were some things that we'll get into that just some of them silly, some of them not, that we either overlooked, didn't really consider all that much, or actually there's a couple of positives in there as well that I think we took that we expected to be more challenging than they were. So you want to start with number 1?
Yeah, so really just focusing in on the hurdles and the red tape around getting the business started, from everything to do with licensing and facility requirements. Thinking about where we started, of course, we were able to operate just kind of independent of some of those things, just because we had the available property to use.
We had some available property to use. We had it was in an unincorporated area, which helped some of the like city laws that we are now facing. So it was a bit easier to get started in our current. Well, I guess in our previous, we're like in the middle. Just for transparency, we're in the middle of some of these transitions. So some of the stuff that we're going to talk about are actually ongoing issues that we're trying to still overcome a year and a half in, right?
Right.
But yeah, so we were able to bypass some of those at our previous location. But now we're running headlong into some of those. So one of the big ones that I think may relate to a lot of the listeners and viewers, because they probably have seen us at a show. If not, come see us at a show. But are the health and safety laws that that are involved in serving coffee to the public. And it's just something we've talked about those in videos and podcasts in the past. So we won't get into detail about what those are, but just to know that our initial impression was not correct in that. And I think we were given some bad information, or maybe some less than full information by some government agencies. So I guess lesson 1 for us out of this podcast is to say that government agencies don't always talk to each other. So what one government agency says is okay doesn't mean that it's consistent, or that you don't have to find and double check with somebody else. So we talked to DHEC, Department of Health in South Carolina, and they said you do not have to have any additional licensing or inspections
to serve,
or any health certifications or any additional equipment. They said it is exempt from DHEC certification, which to us, we were like, great, okay, yeah, let's do it. Yeah, serve coffee everywhere. Not the case.
Right.
There are still city and county and some state ordinances that you do have to abide by. And that doesn't include going out. Once you go outside of South Carolina, for us, out of state, you do have to abide by the other states' guidelines, which is something that we also learned, not the hard way, but not the easiest way.
There's a couple of conversations that were a little bit tense with making sure we had proper equipment in place. We're like, what do you mean? We're South Carolina, we don't have to have certain things
we came in with our letters in hand that said that didn't
go over so well.
So it was one of those things that we thought we were doing it the right way. We thought we had the approvals in place, and didn't necessarily
Yeah.
translate into something that was easy and
And again,
straightforward.
we've talked about them before. I mean, some of them, I don't know. I mean, I get it. You got to have these laws in place to protect people. Some of them seem to be a little bit extreme, but it's fine. You know, we're law-abiding citizens.
Yeah, and we always
And we're-
do. Like, we went into it with the full intention of doing it the right way.
Oh, absolutely.
We just
didn't
kind
know.
of got misled or
Yeah.
maybe complacent a little bit. Another thing that, and it kind of ties into point number 2, so I won't get too far into it, is business licensing requirements.
Oh yeah.
So I've had several businesses, and they've all been, oh yeah, just
apply. Yeah.
and you are
Fill out
approved
the
and
application.
easy peasy, you know.
Yeah.
No problem. It turns out that, so that's kind of what I went in expecting, is to, you know,
Have it pretty straightforward, but it wasn't.
Send in an application to the city, you send it, or county, or, you know, whoever you're filing with, and they come back 2 weeks later and they say, yep, here's your paperwork, approved, signed, stamped, all that good stuff.
That wasn't the case this time.
Not so much the case.
Yeah.
No. So we are still in the process of a lot of that paperwork, because a lot of it had to do with, since we are a food processing facility, even though it's coffee, we do have to abide by some of the food and health safety standards that the city puts together. So we still do not roast in this building, because we do not have that certification. So we do all our roasting at our previous facility, which we do have all the right paperwork and everything for that one, which was very straightforward to do.
Easy peasy.
Not so much with the city that we're in now. Not that they're being difficult. Let me just be straightforward. Everyone that I've worked with on this topic, we'll get into some topics that don't fall into this, but have been pretty nice and straightforward and forthcoming with information. It's just then fulfilling those requirements has taken a little bit more effort.
Yeah, I mean, but we've learned along the way, and I think we're literally within weeks of having pretty much everything done. So that's why we thought probably a good time now to start talking through some of these, because as we get them behind us, I'm sure there'll be more things that we'll encounter later. But
and no one told us these things, like, and we're not even able to tell you what these things are, just know, like, because they're going to be unique to your situation. Just know to make sure that you're doing your research in advance of trying to do some of these larger either asset purchases or facilities agreements or things like that, because you're going to want to check those things in advance, because they're not going to be as straightforward. When we leased this building, both the realtor and the landlord both were like, oh yeah, easy peasy, straight in.
Yeah, I've rented to someone who does similar type work. Literally, it was and it's supposed to be plug and play is what we thought.
Just know that it's never as straightforward as it seems, or if it is, that's wonderful. Just be prepared that it's not as straightforward. And the last one I think we talked about was the facilities changes. So getting things actually done when you have a facility, getting things actually done. And our landlord is really good. I mean, we were very open and upfront with what we were going to have to do. When we moved into this building, we had initially thought that we could vent one way. It turned out, with minimal modification, it turned out that the city said no, that we couldn't do that. So we did have to end up doing some modifications to the building. Our landlord was very open about that, because we were transparent about that in advance, and we gave him some options about the best way that he wanted us to do it, because he owns the building, right?
Of course.
So instead of just saying this is the way we have to do it, it's the only way we can do it, we're doing it this way. We said, okay, here are a couple of different ways that we think we can do it, and we ended up going with probably not the most optimal for us, where we are venting through the sidewall of the facility instead of straight vertical through the roof. It's a little bit more costly for us because we have a little bit more duct work that we have to use. It doesn't impact the performance of the machine or anything. It's nothing like that. Because that would have been much more of a serious conversation.
I think the landlord is a little bit more risk averse, because I think he's had some bad experience before that resulted in like leaking roof or something like that he talked about. And that is also why you got to use professional services. Like, these are not things you want to take.
You're not going to punch a
shortcuts.
hole in somebody's building.
Just because, you know a guy who knows a guy who's done it before. Those aren't the shortcuts you want to take with these types of facility changes. So yeah, the landlord's been very good, very responsive. And I mean, we have a solution that will, like I said, be implemented here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
That works for both parties.
So that leads us into point number 2, which is finding contractors, which was not expected to be that challenging, but it's turned out to be probably the most challenging thing that we've had to do. Like, of all the things,
it's almost like people don't want our money.
we have 2 primary. What would you do? A roaster needs 2 things to operate. Well, 3 things to operate. Electricity, but our roaster is not electric. It heats by gas, but it still needs 220 voltage to run the power system for like the fans and all that stuff. So it needs power, it needs gas, which ours runs off of liquid propane, and then also it needs ventilation.
Correct, which was what we just talked about.
Which is what we just talked about. So the electric was pretty straightforward. I mean, to get an electrician to come in, and run 220 volts, it's not that bad.
That was fairly easy. I mean, we had like 3 people in here within like a week's time and had it done.
That's a pretty standard thing that electricians do day in and day out. No problem getting someone to do that, and fairly cost. It was fairly cheap to do. The other 2,
venting and propane. Like, like, do you not want my money? Like, what is wrong? Or maybe it's just more challenging.
I have been working on the propane for a year, and that is to have someone come and put a tank in, and me pay them for that,
to put the tank in,
and pay them to bring me propane. And I've been working on this for a year. And it's the first time I called, they were like, "We're out of tanks." I called 3 or 4 different companies, and they said there's a tank shortage. And then
for our size, right?
For our size, we wanted a fairly specific. No, this is not a grill like a. I don't even know what those gallons are, but this is not a small tank. This isn't even like, you'll see some of the food trucks that come, they're like 23-gallon tanks. They're 100-pound, 23-gallon tanks. The one that we're asking for specifically is a 120-gallon propane tank, which is quite a large tank, but not a huge tank. And we wanted that because of some local requirements in terms of placement and where we have the ability to place that tank. So an above ground propane tank, 120 gallons, versus having to put it in the ground or having some additional guarding or something like that we did. It's not that we don't want to do the guarding, it's that we don't have space where we are in that area to properly do that. So we were looking for a specific size, and we called 3 or 4 different places. It's a common size. You'll see it in a lot
it's not that uncommon
of commercial applications. But so we pretty much gave up for a while, honestly. I said a year, but I didn't do it actively for a year.
Because I was going to say, you expect people to do their job. It's kind of like, okay.
I got frustrated, honestly, and I ended up buying 2 of those, the 100-pound tanks that you see commonly on like food trucks. I bought 2 of those and ran them in tandem and was able to run the roaster somewhat effectively. It capped some of my, so like a residential regulator, it was capped some of my pressure. Some of those that to run the roaster, it needs certain pressures, and I couldn't quite get exactly what I wanted with a residential regulator, but it got the job done
right
for now. But now that we're in this new facility and wanting to do it the right way, it's been back to a struggle again. So we finally have a contractor that's signed up that we've approved quotes for after a year.
Now let's see. Hopefully they show up.
We got to get them to show up. No, we've got full faith in these guys. We've heard really good things from other people.
But it just shouldn't be that hard.
It just shouldn't be that hard.
You know,
I was expecting to call someone and say, "Yeah, no problem,"
and they show up. I mean, same as like the electricians did, right?
Yeah,
show
up, give me a quote. I honestly, and I would not recommend you doing this. I quit getting quotes. The first person that said they would do it, okay, whatever.
It just came to a point where it's like we need this to happen. I
can't run my roaster without propane.
Right.
So I can't run my business without propane. I have to have propane. So while I don't recommend you doing that and getting quotes and all that stuff, because there were quite a big difference between some of the electrician quotes that we got for running that 220. I would recommend getting the quotes and making sure you do that. But there also comes to a point that if it's the only one, it's the only one.
It's like, all right, we went down the list of 4, 5, 6. It's like, okay, finally got someone who's willing to do it, quoted it, gave us a date. All right,
let's signed the paperwork. They've signed the paperwork.
Yes,
let's go. And that also leads us to the venting. It's also been a struggle. So this is like commercial food grade. Like you see it a lot in like restaurants and things like that. So it's venting that can handle very high temperature. So it's like double walled steel insulation
to protect the actual the wall.
Yeah, so it's got to have certain level of, and I am not an HVAC professional, so those of you that are probably laughing at me because you know exactly what it is.
Yeah,
I don't. I'm a coffee roaster. I'll laugh at you for your coffee knowledge.
That's
you
right.
can laugh at me for your HVAC knowledge, my HVAC knowledge. But you know, it's very specific types of ductwork that we have to have to meet safety codes, and rightfully so. Not saying anything against that, but it's not your everyday HVAC professional that's going to install it, right?
Right.
So we had a couple of folks come in and look at it, and they just said, "No, I don't want it. I don't want the job," because it was going to be a little bit more work than they wanted to put into it to quote out the ductwork itself and get so you're gonna have to punch a hole through the sidewall, get everything permitted and everything for that, because it's got to exhaust smoke and all that good stuff. So we had a couple that just said, "No, I don't want to quote it." Again, finally found someone that's done it, that's going to do it, sign the paperwork. But again, that's taken
it's taken what,
since December?
I'm about to say a few months.
Yeah, so 4 months.
Yep.
That we've been working on that to try and find somebody to do it. So understand if you're going to be doing this, like we've talked to other people, because we were like, our story is unique. This is crazy. I can't believe it's taken this long. We talked to a lady the other day that said,
"Oh my
3 years." She said
she's
been working on it.
She's been paying.
This was a restaurant
rent for over 2 years, and hadn't still to this day has not opened. And she has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars
just getting things inspected, adding equipment, changing the ceiling. Didn't she have to, or air conditioning, HVAC,
changing HVAC, widening, walkways and bathroom doors, and just
all these little things. So again, something that we didn't recognize going in, that it was going to be this challenging to do. Like, we knew that we were going to have to do venting. We knew that we were going to have to do gas. We are willing to pay for that to be done, but the challenges of actually getting someone to do the work. And our case is a little bit unique because people are a little bit more willing. Like, you can get recommendation for people that'll do restaurant type work or contractor type work.
Right.
But see, there I go again, generalizing it, because I don't know. I don't know, because I thought it was going to be easy to get someone. I'll pay you whatever X amount of money, you just put a hole in the wall and do the venting, and that was not
just do what you do, right? And it's just wasn't as easy as we would like for it to be. And then we still got a business to run, so we can't like legitimately sit and just focus on this all day. Like, nope, we send emails, make phone calls with the expectation we'll get phone calls back in return, or emails in return, while we continue to do the work of the business. And sometimes those phone calls never came back, or no email responses, or people came out and just, "No, this is not a job that I can do," or
it takes 2 weeks to get
a quote, or it takes long
to just get a no.
So that's why months and months and months go by, until you get to the point where it's like, okay, I as soon as I get someone who's willing to just
sign us up, to
commit, then sign us up. Let's get it done. Check mark into the box and move on to the next thing. So
that's
contractors. I guess number 3 would be more like kind of the unseen cost. Like membership fees to for different things. Even thinking about the we talked about business licenses.
There's like it's almost even too many to mention, but like we knew, again, going in, you're going to have rent, you're going to have electricity, you're going to have internet and phone,
the basic stuff, I would say, right?
But then it's the software for the route,
that
$7,000 worth of software plus $99 a month that you didn't like when we thought about starting the delivery business. You're like, oh, okay, I'll buy the business. I had no idea
that you needed.
I was going to have to write a check for $7,000 for software, or we talked about the membership, so Chamber of Commerce memberships and city memberships and all these little things. And this is not a complaint. We gladly support all of you guys, but all of the donation requests that we get for things like that, all the ad requests that we get, we try to support as many as we can, but you get so many people asking that it's hard to keep up with all of them. And
I'm sure there's more.
I can't. I'm having even a hard time thinking of it.
I mean, but we got the certifications though. Like we got the Rainforest
Alliance certification. We have. We're gonna be doing some like educational stuff for coming up here for both like coffee related and the maintenance of the equipment and stuff like that that we're going to have to do here to get certified to work on the equipment that we own. So all of that kind of stuff. Again, it's one individual thing. Oh, the container. We had to move that.
We had to
that shipping container. I had no idea.
More money than what I expected.
I had no idea how much that was going to cost. I was like, I'll pull it on a trailer and move it myself. And then I was like,
yes,
I think we ended up paying what, $1,700?
Yeah, close to $2,000
to move that container just to move 60 miles.
60 miles.
So it's things that add up. And again, it's not that any one thing. The container was a lot, but not that any one thing is a ton. But like you've got QuickBooks that you pay for.
You've got fees for that.
You've got
you still got some residual PayPal stuff out there.
I mean, like there's just a bunch of little stuff that you pay for. And, the subscription to the wholesaler for free shipping, all that kind of stuff.
Right, your online stuff.
So it all adds up.
Yeah,
it's just stuff that you didn't even think about. Taking in consideration when you were calculating expenses when you started the business. So that's another one. A positive one that I wanted to mention. So number 4 is the reception that we received from the reptile and pet industry. And this is a very positive one. When I came up with the idea of Cold Blooded Caffeine and pitched it to McKendrick, I expected it to work. I expected that there was a market there. Obviously, we would not have started the business if we did not expect there to be some.
And we did our due diligence, I would say, just to make sure it made sense. And it did. Like, it's one thing for it to make sense, like on paper, but then to actually take the product out and be on full display and then see the reception was something totally different, unexpected.
And we didn't, like, when we started Cold Blooded Caffeine in August of 2021, neither one of us expected to be doing it full time in the near future. Like I expected to run it as a side business until we got enough following to maybe one day down the road one or both of us went full time.
Right.
And from August, within a year,
within 1 year, we're both
full time doing Cold Blooded Caffeine. And not to say that I'm making more money than I did when we were both working full time or anything like that, but the fact remains that we were welcomed into the industry more than I would have ever expected, faster than I ever would have expected. And a lot of it comes down to, even people that are listening to these podcasts or the YouTube videos or follow us on Instagram or anything like that. Every one of you made it possible for us to be able to do this full time,
to be exactly where we are now.
And while, like I said, while it's probably more work than a 9-to-5 job that we left. I left mine in April. You left yours in July.
Yep.
It's more work probably on a day-to-day than working that 9-to-5. And those were pretty difficult 9-to-5s. It's still, there's a sense of satisfaction at the end of every day,
So it's more rewarding for sure. You're working for yourself. Like you
make the decisions,
right?
But you have to take the consequences.
There's
of those
consequences that come with it as well. Yeah.
But that point is to say, the reception from the reptile industry was a lot faster and a lot more holistic than I think I would have expected going into it. I think we found our niche. I think we found our market. And
and that niche, we knew, like, from the research we did. I was there up front when we did that. It was like, oh my goodness, no one is in this space. Like, we can really like penetrate this space, which we did. But again, just the reception overall, I think was just phenomenal. And the intention behind what we did. Like, we were intentional about being at really almost as many shows as we could throughout all of last year. Right. We were trying to get the name out there, get the exposure.
I did the count. We did 24 shows last year.
Did we?
Yeah.
So pretty much 2 a month.
I mean, that's a lot. I know some people personally, obviously, doing 24 shows a month or 24 shows a year. We get to know quite a few people. I know people that do it every month or every week. But two times a month, that was a lot. That was a lot of hotels, a lot of time away from home,
a lot of time on the road. Yeah.
So,
but again,
luckily we were able to scale back a little bit this year. Well, luckily and necessity wise, we had to scale back because we started the delivery business.
Right. We started the delivery business. So
that's more of a local focus. So we have to stay around the area a little bit more. So we had to scale back some of those shows, but still, I think we did the right things. I think we put in the right effort and got the name out there in the right ways. We got some lucky breaks. I think that snake discovery video that we did back in June of last year.
Summer, was it June?
I think it was June. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
mid last year.
Yeah, somewhere in that area
was huge for us. I mean, I think someone, having Ed and Emily come to us,
Charleston, and
essentially validate us to everyone else. It's difficult to get someone to buy your product when they don't know who you are or what you stand for, especially in an age with internet scammers and things like that. So to have someone like, an organization like Snake Discovery, Ed and Emily, come and put their name next to ours was huge for us. And a couple of other pretty significant things, like being able to do the NARBC shows. Brian and Bob, the promoters at NARBC, they've been nothing but wonderful for us.
Absolutely. Placement, of where we are within the facilities. So has been a big.
It hasn't been all rainbows and butterflies in terms of some other promoters. We get along with most everyone perfectly fine. Mickey with Show Me Reptiles is an affiliate of ours and a good friend. And some of the other shows. But there are some that aren't necessarily fans of having a coffee vendor in the shows, and that's okay. We understand that position, and we respect that, but we do also appreciate those that have taken the chance on us, both customers and other businesses within the community that have taken a chance on us and allowing us to participate in their events. The Canova event that we did,
in Atlanta, or outside of Atlanta,
in November. That was huge. Again, another validating event, having one of the world's premier ball python breeder vouch for us. It was really huge.
Debut of our pods was that weekend.
We debuted the pods that weekend. Yeah. It's man, that seems so long ago, but it was what, less than 6 months ago.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So that's number 4, was the reception by the reptile industry, which, you know, it goes, we can't thank each and every one of you enough for allowing us to do this day in and day out.
Yeah. And I think you touched on something earlier that actually runs right into number 5, which is how much social media matters, right? So again, the video we did with Snake Discovery went live on YouTube, their YouTube channel. We reposted, and you know, things really blew up from there. But even going back before that, I mean, we had our social media handles in place, but we didn't invest as much time and energy into it that we should have, especially compared to what we're doing now.
Yeah.
And to see how the following is starting to increase more and more every single month.
Yeah.
It just really shows you, I mean, the magnitude and the amount of people that you reach if you really do social media the right way.
Like you said, I think probably the day that we got the LLC documents back, I think you went in and created the social media stuff.
Because I wanted to make sure no one took the name. We wanted literally to make sure we cornered the market for Cold Blooded Caffeine and had everything.
Really, I mean, it hasn't been. We launched the podcast and the YouTube channel in 2023.
Yeah, it's been this year.
It's been over a year where it was mostly Instagram.
Yep.
Facebook, we're not as active on, but mostly Instagram up until this point. Excuse me.
But yeah, I mean, but I think even with the work that's been done now, and the connection between now, we got, you know, everything running together from, you know, Instagram and Facebook to a certain extent, but more so like the YouTube. We even have LinkedIn. I mean, we have a LinkedIn page profile updated where we'll publish some of the articles that we've written on there, just to, you know, make sure our reach goes as far as we possibly can take it. So,
and we're by no means social media experts, like far from it. Like, I literally bought a book on how to do Instagram, which is the most, like, I don't know, old person thing that you could ever.
But it was more about, you know, taking it to the next level.
It was more about making an effort, right? Yeah. It was like, I want to be intentional on this. I want to be intentional on creating good content, building a community. And that's why we do the podcast. We don't make a dime off the podcasts.
Not yet.
Keep listening.
As soon as you continue to share this across everyone that you know, to get us to 10,000 million.
That's it.
Subscribers, then we'll be good.
But no, I mean, it's more about letting you know who we are. Again, we want to continue validating, putting our face out there, wanting you to see who the face of the brand is, who you're buying coffee from, whose hands touched it, who tasted it and said, yes, this is a good product to release. So I mean, I remember, I still don't post on my personal Facebook. So if you've friend requested me, you're sorely disappointed I've got quite a few Facebook friends, and I'm sure they're like, oh my gosh, he's still alive every time he posts a post or an update or something. But
most of course, our followers now, even, you know, family, friends, they know of the other social media handles that we have, so they're following those. So I mean, I've gotten away from posting on my personal as well. Not as much. I still do from time to time, but I mean, we're getting a pretty good traction and following on the other, the other platforms that, I mean, it's continuing to grow every month.
So, I mean, we'll continue to push those going forward. We've got some big plans, particularly for YouTube and podcasting for the rest of 2023. So hopefully we'll continue to grow. Hopefully we're producing content that you're going to enjoy. I think it all comes back to, for me, when I realized how big of a deal it was that Snake Discovery video. Because I remember sitting in the in the roastery in its previous location that will remain unknown for privacy reasons. I remember the day that video came out, and I immediately knew what was happening because you were still working.
I was still working,
and I was doing the business full time, and I had been doing it for, I can't remember,
a few months,
month and a half, 2 months or something like that. And we would get orders, but it would be like 1 or 2 or 3 orders a week, but it wasn't very many.
Yeah, we were just we were in the circuit. We were going,
so we would get some orders coming in, but it wasn't a ton. And then the day that the Snake Discovery video dropped, I had my phone, like I have our orders app on my phone, and when they started dinging in, I thought somebody, like, I don't know,
like something's wrong,
or had
McKendrick, something is wrong. And I was like, what do you mean?
Yeah, I literally messaged McKendrick and said, something's wrong, you need to come here.
Or something's happening.
Yeah. And it was that Snake Discovery video. And that for me was the moment that was like, wow, this like social media is not only important, but like necessary. So
in this day and age,
so that was I didn't really like we said, we knew that we were going to do it when we initially started the business. Like we said, we planned it out, and we got the usernames and all that stuff so secured so that we can have them reserved. But I never would have imagined the role that it plays. Like the amount of time that I spend during my daily activities not roasting coffee. Like I'm responsible for roasting all the coffee that you drink. I roast it myself.
Yes.
And the amount of time that I spend roasting coffee versus the amount of time that I do spending all of these 5 things that we just mentioned, like it's probably, I don't know, 4 times more time that I spend on all of these, mostly of these 5 things, honestly.
Right.
Right. As opposed to actually doing what I thought I was going to be doing when we started the business. So
got to work on getting some more people in that org chart.
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah. If you're in the Charleston area and would like to volunteer, because
we're only accepting volunteers right now. Only accepting volunteers.
You would like to volunteer at Cold Blooded Caffeine and learn how to coffee roast.
We got some space for you.
Because Trey needs to make YouTube videos.
That's right. We need him 10 million by the end of the summer, buddy.
Well, combined. I mean, podcast and YouTube videos. I'm not trying to get greedy.
Yeah. Okay.
5 million each.
5 million each. Okay.
That seems doable.
Only about 5 more months.
Yeah, we are fine.
Knock it out. All right.
No problem. No, but so that's the 5 things that we didn't expect that have now taken over our lives when we started a coffee roasting company. I mean, we still have to do, McKendrick runs the route every day for the delivery service for most days, and I do the coffee roasting most days. But this is the stuff that takes up time outside of that. So hope you enjoyed the podcast. Anything to add?
No, I mean, I think we touched on everything that we wanted to. Hopefully you're able to take away something from it, learn a little bit, especially if you're in the market to start your own business, whether it is coffee roasting or anything in the entrepreneur world. Make sure you're considering some of these critical things.
And if there's anything we can do to help, I mean, getting a mentor is going to be your best bet. If you can find someone that has started a business, like I said, they're not going to be able to tell you exactly the step-by-steps in doing it. Some of building a business is learning and doing those things for yourself. But finding a mentor that can also help you say, hey, you need to check with the city to make sure that you don't need a city and a county license, or all these different things.
At least make you think, right? Make you think about different things that you just may not have thought about.
If we can help in any way, let us know. Recommend you find a local mentor if you're starting a business to help you guide you along some of those more local legislative regulations, things like that. So, but other than that, I think this was episode 6.
6 in the book.
Yeah, we'll catch you next week for episode 7.
And we'll be closer to 10 million.
And we'll be closer. So if we're not by 1 million subscribers by next week, you can forget it. We're not doing another podcast.
Throw this podcast.
That's it.
Done.
I got to roast coffee.
And I got some deliveries to make. All right. Like, share, publish. Is that it? Like, share, publish. Like, share,
subscribe.
Like, share.
I think
subscribe. We publish. We're
publish.
Gonna
You subscribe.
Like, share, subscribe. Cold Blooded Caffeine Podcast, episode 6.
All right. We'll see you next time.